Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your ultimate home for everything Liverpool FC. Today, we've got massive breaking updates from Anfield. Konaté hits back at completely fake claims. Marc Guehi's transfer truth finally revealed by Steve Parish. Florian Wirtz drops a huge deal hint that could shake up Liverpool's plans. And there's even an injury twist involving Konaté himself. Plus, what's this transfer curse haunting record signings like Alexander Isak? Stay tuned, hit that like, subscribe, and let's dive into the Reds drama and transfer chaos together. Ibrahima Konaté completely fake claim lingers as Liverpool teammate comments telling Ibrahima Konaté's Liverpool future remains unclear. With the France international free to speak to clubs outside of England from January, when questions over his Liverpool contract were put to Ibrahima Konaté, fresh from lifting the Premier League title on his birthday in May, the defender was vexed. Having proven himself as an honest and open interviewee across his time as a Reds player, Konaté showed why he had that reputation when he disputed reports that had emerged online a few months earlier. "You know, I just want to say one thing. Everything you saw on social media is completely fake," the France international said. "I didn't even ask for something from the club. They made me an offer, and I replied to them with something, that is it. The rest, speculation, that I want to wait until the end. I want this. All of it is completely fake." And even the big journalists said in November, "I am very close to signing the deal." I was like, they have more information than me? The nature of the joyous afternoon, where Liverpool lifted their 20th title in front of over 60,000 supporters, meant that Konaté's words were delivered with more of a wry smile than any real frustration. But the centre-back was clearly irked at the time by the erroneous claims. Nearly 5 months on, however, the Reds man remains in the same spot he was in on his 26th birthday, tethered to the terms he signed in 2021 when he joined from RB Leipzig and facing an increasingly uncertain future. Cody Gakpo recently revealed after signing a new contract at the club that negotiations with his ESEG representatives and the club took around a year to formalize before they were signed and sealed. For a new contract for someone who is happy, settled, and viewed as an important part of the squad, to take up to a year revealed a lot about why these sorts of agreements are not simply reached overnight. That, inadvertently, perhaps explains why there is no public progress on Konaté's deal, as rumors of Real Madrid interest continue to be published. It's to the enormous credit of Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk that their own respective sagas were never once used to explain a perceived dip in form for either themselves or the team as a whole last season, with both talisman going through to April before 2-year extensions were penned. It would have been the easiest analysis point in the world to suggest a drop in output was because of the uncertainty over their long-term futures. Neither allowed that to happen as Liverpool swept to the Premier League title by 10 points, officially wrapping it up with a month and 4 games to spare. This time around, though Konaté is not enjoying the same luxury, and his difficulties this season have been highlighted in recent days on the back of 3 successive defeats. A difficult opening night in the 4-2 win over Bournemouth in August was followed up by a shaky second half at Newcastle United in that memorable 3-2 victory later that month. The France international responded to those questions with an excellent showing in the 1-0 win against Arsenal prior to the September international break. In general, though, Konaté is not near the levels he was at last term alongside Van Dijk. So good were the pair, in fact, that the Frenchman was moved to suggest the partnership was Europe's finest when asked about it in January before a Champions League win over Lille. This season, "Yeah, I think so," Konaté replied when asked if his and Van Dijk's center-back partnership was the continent's meanest. "Everybody knows Virgil. Everybody knows his quality. For me, he is the best. No one is better than him in this position. I learn a lot from him and from other players like Joel Matip, Joe Gomez, and others who play this position as well. I never said it to him, but I have said in interviews, I just want to be better than him one day. That's why I work hard to reach this level one day." Steve Parish explains real reason Marc Guehi Liverpool transfer collapsed, based on advice. Marc Guehi was on the cusp of a move from Crystal Palace to Liverpool. On transfer deadline day before the move fell through, Chairman Steve Parish has claimed Crystal Palace's maiden season in Europe was the reason for pulling the plug on Captain Marc Guehi's dream moved to Liverpool. The Premier League champions had agreed a deal worth 35 milers with Palace on. Transfer deadline day for the England international, the centre-back, was given permission to undergo his medical in London on September 1st. However, the Eagles' attempts to replace their skipper fell through when Brighton and Hove Albion's Igor Julio chose a loan move to West Ham United over a switch to Selhurst Park. Reports also emerged on the night that head coach, Oliver Glasner, who was desperate to keep Guehi, had threatened to leave had the talisman not stayed in South London. Read more. Mohamed Salah. Political reasons claim made as Liverpool urged to agree Barcelona transfer. Read more. Arne Slot Liverpool coaching staff have just got what they need after unforgiving. Reminder: the proposed move to Anfield was cancelled as a result, and Liverpool are now expected to return next summer when the 25-year-old will be available on a free transfer. Parish has now revealed that the FA Cup holders' first-ever European campaign was the overriding reason for deciding to keep Guehi, who is now free to speak to clubs from outside of England from January 1st about a pre-contract deal. It's as simple as that. These things are never black and white. I decided in the end that, based on the advice that I got and with what I think, that we would have a better season if we kept Marc. We don't guess about these things. If you look at it rationally, if you look at what is worth the place in the Premier League, the fact that we're in the Conference League for the first time in our history, this is a fairly unusual set of circumstances in which to keep a player. If we were fighting between the difference of 10th and 14th, if that was going to be the difference between keeping Marc and letting Marc go, then probably we would have said, right, we should take the money. Florian Wirtz, strong, huge deal message sent as Liverpool. Position switch hinted at Germany legend Jurgen Klinsmann gives his verdict on Florian Wirtz's adaptation period at Liverpool and defends the 116 million man's start at Anfield. Germany legend Jurgen Klinsmann says it will be normal for Florian Wirtz to endure some rough days as he attempts to prove himself at Liverpool. But the iconic striker insists he has no concerns. The 116 man will eventually show at Anfield exactly why he is so highly regarded in his homeland. Florian Wirtz has yet to hit the heights that he displayed while at Bayer Leverkusen since making his move to Merseyside. With the Reds losing their last 3 games prior to the international break, the creative midfielder hasn't created an assist or scored a goal for his new club, but Klinsmann says the Germany international should be given patience as he tries to settle and adjust into his new surroundings at the age of 22. And the former Tottenham Hotspur forward says such a tough adaptation period is to be expected for a young player moving countries to a new league. In a chat with ESPN, I think it's simply natural that a kid of 22 years of age, going to another huge club with the package of a huge transfer fee will need some time. Klinsmann said, Florian needs more time to settle in, to feel the place, to feel more comfortable every day. He will deliver. I've no doubt about it, but it will take some time and we have to be patient for that. Some do it differently. Look at Nick Woltemade at Newcastle United. 4 goals in 7 games, but I am sure that Florian will not disappoint. It will just take a bit of time. Where does he play? That's not an easy one because they are overloaded with top-class players. This Liverpool side is just incredible. Look at the names, what they have, how they can mix things around. At Leverkusen, he came often from the left wing and entered the 18-yard box. He can come through the middle, he can play as a numbered 10 as well. So they will figure it out over time, but he will be a huge deal down the road for Liverpool. Klinsmann added, we have to ask Arne Slot obviously directly if Wirtz will get more freedom. It is not easy for him as a manager either. If you have these strikers at your disposal and these attack-minded players, and you have to decide who to start in your ex-house every week, it's not an easy conversation you have with these players. Because they are all big names, they are all hungry for every minute on the field. They want to prove their point. So, from a psychological perspective, it is a lot of work for Arne Slot, but it will, step by step, develop in the right direction. At Liverpool, you don't have time because you need to win the next game in all competitions. But Florian decided to make that move, and he will learn every day. There will be some rough days in this period to adjust. But from his perspective, there was no other way to go. It was clear that when Liverpool came up on the horizon to give him that opportunity, and then for Leverkusen with that transfer fee as well, that was the only solution. And now he has to work himself into that environment and create himself the best way through and go from game to game. But it is not easy. Liverpool returned to action when they entertain Manchester United on Sunday, October 19th. Ibrahima Konaté pays touching tribute after handing Liverpool major injury concern. Ibrahima Konaté is the youngest of 6 brothers, and he is grateful to have his family surrounding him. As he explained, he knows they will always only want the best for him. Ibrahima Konaté credited his 5 brothers with turning him into the person and player he is today. The French defender handed Liverpool an injury scare last week when he was forced off during the defeat to Chelsea on Saturday. Konaté was included in the France team for Thursday's game against Azerbaijan, but didn't feature. He then withdrew on Saturday. On the field, Konaté is a commanding no-nonsense center-back, but the defender has revealed that away from it, his siblings have kept him humble. Konaté is the youngest of 6 brothers, and believes the influence of older siblings Diawoye, Sarima, Mambi, Siku, and Moriba have helped to keep him grounded. I became the player I am today thanks to each one of them, Konaté told West France. From my first steps at Parish University Club 20 years ago to Liverpool, they have always been a fundamental help. Konaté revealed that when he moved to RB Leipzig in 2017, he did not make any lavish purchases due to concerns his brothers would think that he had changed as a person. I didn't spend anything at all on hedonistic and personal pleasures, he added. No new car, no clothes, no shoes, nothing. I was too afraid they'd tell me I'd changed. He was eventually told by one of his brothers to treat himself, admitting, "I'm not going to lie to you, I overdid it a bit, especially with clothes." With many wealthy soccer players having to tread carefully when it comes to choosing who to include in their entourage, Konaté is grateful that he has his family surrounding him, as he knows they will always want the best for him. "You have no idea how much footballers need them, family," Konaté said. "Many people, more or less well-intentioned, roam around us. Percent of them come because I'm Konaté, the football player, and not Ibrahima, the person. They want to take advantage of my fame, but they don't really care about me. As soon as someone wants to approach me, they filter them out." Konaté will surely be leaning on his family for advice as he takes a big decision on his future in the next few months. The France international is set to become a free agent next year and has been linked with a free transfer to Real Madrid as well as boyhood club Paris Saint-Germain. Liverpool, meanwhile, is being linked with Dayot Upamecano, who is also set to become a free agent as a possible replacement for Konaté next year. Upamecano has been offered a new contract by Bayern Munich, but he is not happy with the terms of it and could leave the club for free next summer. Marc Guehi of Crystal Palace is also likely to be available as a free agent next year, but Liverpool could face stiff competition to sign him, despite coming close to landing the England international last month. Guehi is also being linked with Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and Barcelona. Transfer curse facing Alexander Isak with worrying trend among record deals. Alexander Isak became the British record transfer in the summer, but history suggests those signings find it hard to land the Premier League title, which is the expectation at Liverpool. With big money comes big expectations, but all too often in the Premier League, the most expensive players haven't delivered the ultimate prize. None of the top clubs spend record sums to get them to second or third spot. But over recent years, some of the most lucrative moves have failed to take their clubs to the summit of English football. Liverpool made Florian Wirtz the British record transfer when they landed him from Bayer Leverkusen in the summer, only weeks later, and they smashed their own record with Alexander Isak joining from Newcastle for $125 million. The pressure is now on for the Swede, who has been regarded as among the best strikers in the world, to ensure that Liverpool remain top of the pile. History suggests, at least in recent years, that the most expensive signings don't often deliver the title. In fact, cast your eye down the 10 most expensive transfers to an English side and you'll Find just 2 men with a Premier League winner's medal, but even they struggled to hit the heights expected. They are Jack Grealish and Darwin Núñez. The ex-Aston Villa star boasts 3 titles to his name. Few would argue that he has justified his $100 million fee since moving to Manchester City. Núñez left Liverpool in the summer, 3 years after his 85-meter switch from Benfica, which was more frustrating than successful. Isak is hoping to be more success than frustration. He joined a team that had looked a well-oiled machine last term, but less so in the early weeks of this campaign. Already Arne Slot is having to figure out how to get the best from the Swede, with much debate over how to best use him and the host of quality names in Liverpool's heavily stocked attack. Isak, but first Wirtz, exceeded the British record transfer fee that had belonged to Enzo Fernandez. The Argentine moved from Benfica to Chelsea just months after becoming a World Cup winner. In Qatar, he was named the best young player at the tournament, immediately attracting huge attention. Fernandez moved to Stamford Bridge in the January of 2023 for a then-record 105 meters. He, so far, only has a Europa Conference League and a Club World Cup to his name. Teammate Moises Caicedo joined only months later for 100 meters. At the time, he penned a deal that had the potential to rise to 115 meters, which was a record fee. He has formed an impressive partnership with Fernandez in midfield, but the 2 men have yet to make Chelsea title contenders. One man who has proved a huge hit is Declan Rice. He headed to Arsenal after impressing for years at West Ham, with the Gunners investing 100 millers, rising to 105 millers with add-ons. The England midfielder is now regarded among the best in the league in his position. He's enjoyed some stunning moments for the North Londoners, but is yet to land the title he and his teammates crave. In his 2 years with Arsenal, they've finished twice on both occasions, but do currently sit top of the pile at this early stage of the season. Back in 2021, Chelsea, when Roman Abramovich was the man still signing off on major deals, spent a club record fee of 97.5 meters to bring Romelu Lukaku back to the club from Inter Milan. He was seen as the striker who could take Thomas Tuchel's side to the title. He scored on his debut, and the early signs were ominous. But he soon tailed off, facing public criticism from his manager. The Belgian later departed for Napoli, where he's won another Serie A title, but the title in England certainly evaded him.